rapid muscle growth. The key to it is maximum fiber recruitment. At each workout, you should use the minimum number of sets to hit the maximum number of muscle fibers in each target area. This preserves recovery ability and stimulates growth, setting the stage for a quantum leap in mass. Positions of flexion, or P.O.F, gives you the power to accomplish this type of anabolic acceleration at each workout because it specifically defines the 3 positions, or angles, at which each muscle should be worked for super muscle fiber recruitment. This 3-position concept states that each muscle group needs 3 exercises for full, complete development, 1 for each position of flexion, the mid-range, stretch, and contracted positions. Let's begin by analyzing the quadriceps so you can reap the mass-building benefits of P.O.F in your very next leg workout. You achieve the quadriceps stretch position when your torso and thighs are on the same plane, with your calves almost flush against your hamstrings, as in the bottom of a sissy squat. In this position, you feel a distinct pull on the target muscle. You reach the quads contracted position when your torso and thighs are at 90 degrees to each other and your lower legs are extended to contract your front thighs, as in the top of a leg extension. You work the mid-range position with any type of squatting or leg pressing exercise. Notice that you don't achieve full stretch or complete contraction during mid-range movements. Instead, you work the target muscle through more of a middle range of motion. Because mid-range movements tend to work the majority of the target body part's muscle fibers with the help of synergy, it's best to work the mid-range position first. Synergy is many muscles working together as a team, and it allows you to use maximum poundages. For example, with squats you work your quads with the help of your glutes and lower back. This is one of the reasons you can power up some impressive weights on this exercise, effectively overload the target muscle, and force the bulk of the muscle fibers to fire. After you fatigue the majority of the fibers with a mid-range movement, you then move to a stretch position exercise, like the sissy squat. With this movement, you place the quads into a complete stretch, which allows you to take advantage of the myotatic reflex, or pre-stretch phenomenon, an action that can help you recruit fibers out of reserve. In other words, you're able to pull dormant muscle fibers into the action for a more intense contraction. Getting these reserve fibers into the action is one of the keys to rapid muscle size increases. Research has shown that pre-stretch forces this reserve fiber recruitment phenomenon, which also remains in effect for the next exercise as well. Now that you've primed many of the reserve muscle fibers to contract, you move to an exercise that has resistance in the contracted position to give as many muscle fibers as possible one final growth-stimulating blast. You work the contracted position movement last in order to place the target muscle in its ultimate peak contracted or flexed state with opposing resistance. For example, with leg extensions, you engage your quads through the entire range of motion, and at the end of each rep, you get an intense, cramping contraction that squeezes the last bit of effort from the working fibers, including many reserve fibers. By working your quads mid-range, stretch, and contracted positions, you can efficiently fatigue your front thighs during each workout with fewer sets, while still covering all the angles. From a physiological standpoint, this type of efficiency of effort in the gym is the key to maximum muscle growth in a much shorter time frame. A pair of fully developed hamstrings adds tremendous width and sweep to the thighs when they're viewed from the side. Most bodybuilders use leg curls to train their hamstrings, but this is only part of the mass equation. You must work them from their 3 positions of flexion if you want total size and detail. You achieve the hamstring's mid-range position during the top 1/3 of a deadlift or stiff-legged deadlift. Here, your glutes and lower back provide the most synergy. You reach the hamstring's stretch position at the bottom of a stiff-legged deadlift. At this point, your hamstrings are completely stretched in order to activate the myotatic reflex. You achieve the contracted position of the hamstrings when your torso and thighs are on the same plane and your calves are almost flush against your hamstrings, as in the top of a leg curl. With these hamstring positions defined, you can now construct the ultimate routine to pack more size and sweep onto the back of your upper thighs. The first exercise in the P.O.F. hamstring routine is the stiff-legged deadlift. Notice that this is both a mid-range and stretch position movement. You work the mid-range at the top of this exercise and reach a full stretch at the bottom. Muscle teamwork allows you to really pile on the poundage so that you give the maximum number of hamstring fibers a sizable jolt. Plus, you get the added effect of the myotatic reflex in the stretch position, which doubles the effectiveness of the movement. This combination makes the stiff-legged deadlift a super hamstring builder. To get the most from this mid-range and stretch position exercise, keep your back flat, no rounding. This will make the exercise safer and force the hamstrings to do more work. Also, use little or no pause at the top. There is no resistance here, so pausing will only rest the target muscles. Try to keep the bar moving in a piston-like manner, 2 seconds up and 2 seconds down, and concentrate on feeling your hamstrings do the work. Initiate a quick twitch when the bar reaches the midpoint of your shins. Alternate hamstring mid-range and stretch position movements include good mornings. Remember to keep your back flat and stop the movement just before your torso is parallel to the floor. This will make the exercise safer and more effective. The second exercise in the P.O.F. hamstring routine is the lying leg curl. With this movement, you get a total contraction in the target muscle with each rep. Also, by doing this contracted position movement after you hit the stretch position with the stiff-legged deadlifts, you continue to recruit muscle fibers out of reserve. To make this contracted position exercise as effective as possible, don't raise your hips off the bench. Hold for a 2 count at the top of the movement and really flex your hamstrings. Keep your feet flexed toward your shins. Calf size helps balance well-developed quads and adds to a bodybuilder's symmetry. Big calves also give the legs a fuller appearance, creating that sought-after, powerful pillar effect. Once again, to get this type of awe-inspiring development, you must work your calves from their 3 positions of flexion. You achieve the calves' mid-range position when you curl your lower leg up with your toes pointed. The calves and hamstrings work together to power the weight up. You reach the calves' stretch position when your torso is at a 90-degree angle to your thighs and your heels are down below your shins, as they are at the bottom of a donkey calf raise. At this point, your calves reach a complete stretch due to a combination of torso angle and heel position, which allows you to activate the myotatic reflex. You achieve the calves' contracted position when your torso and thighs are on the same plane and you're up on your toes, as in the top of a standing calf raise. Let's use these positions of flexion to construct the ultimate calf routine. The first exercise in the P.O.F. calf program is the toes-pointed leg curl. This is a mid-range exercise. Notice how the calves engage as you curl the weight up. The toes-pointed style allows this to happen. To get the most from this mid-range position exercise, keep your toes pointed throughout the exercise. Also, there's no need to pause at the top or bottom of this movement. Remember, this is a mid-range calf exercise. The second movement in the P.O.F. calf routine is the donkey calf raise, a stretch position exercise. Keep in mind that by keeping your feet angled slightly in throughout the exercise, you enhance the pre-stretch at the bottom. To make this exercise as effective as possible, use a quick twitch at the bottom to activate reserve muscle fibers. There is no need to hold and flex at the top, as this is not a contracted position movement. Due to the 90-degree angle of your waist and legs, you don't achieve an intense contraction at the top of this exercise, at least not like you do with the contracted position exercise, which comes next. With any standing calf raise movement, you get a total calf contraction if you keep your torso upright on the same plane as your legs. Also, by doing this contracted position movement with a slight toes-out stance, you enhance the contraction at the top of each rep. To make this exercise as effective as possible, hold for a 2 count at the top of the movement and really flex your calves. Try to maintain a slight toes-out stance throughout the exercise. You must also develop the soleus muscle if you want complete lower leg size and shape. The soleus runs underneath the gastrocnemius from knee to ankle, and when it's properly developed, causes the entire lower leg to appear larger. Luckily, the soleus's mid-range position is taken care of during the toes-pointed leg curls in the gastroc routine, and the stretch position is taken care of with the donkey calf raises. That leaves the contracted position, and you use the seated calf raise to get the best soleus contraction. To make this exercise as effective as possible, hold for a 2 count at the top of each rep. Now that you have the ammunition for a P.O.F. leg-blasting assault, let's look at a radically effective P.O.F. routine that will up the mass on your quads, hamstrings, and calves. Quadriceps, mid-range, squats. 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps. Stretch, sissy squats. 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps. Contracted, leg extensions. 1 to 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps. Hamstrings, mid-range and stretch, stiff-legged deadlifts. 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps. Contracted, lying leg curls. 1 to 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps. Gastrocnemius, mid-range, toes-pointed leg curls. 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps. Stretch, donkey calf raises or leg press calf raises. 2 sets of 12 to 18 reps. Contracted, 1 leg calf raises or standing calf machine. 1 to 2 sets of 12 to 18 reps. Soleus. Mid-range, worked during toes-pointed leg curls. Stretch, worked during donkey calf raises. Contracted, seated calf raises, 2 sets of 12 to 18 reps.